Shaw Playing Room, microphone test, 1, 2, 3.
This, the red light goes on.
Good morning and welcome to our Agriculture and Rural Affairs Committee meeting of Thursday, February the 6th. We'll just run through the agenda. Are there any declarations of interest? Confirmation of minutes of the meeting of the 5th of December 2013 of the Agriculture and Rural Affairs Committee. Is that carried? Okay, and I'll read the statement that I'm required to read at the beginning of the meeting. This is a public meeting to discuss the proposed zoning bylaw amendments listed as items 5 to 12 on today's agenda. For the items listed above, only those who make oral submissions today or written submissions before the amendments are adopted may appeal the matter to the Ontario Municipal Board. In addition, the applicant may appeal the matter to the Ontario Municipal Board if Council does not adopt an amendment within 120 days of receipt of the application for zoning and 180 days for an official plan amendment. A comment sheet is available at the door and there are two lovely young ladies there who will help you out if you need it, for anyone wishing to submit written comments on these amendments. So we'll go through the agenda, and a number of items I hope will go on consent. Item number 1 will hold. We have a presentation. Item number 2, a designation of 2659 Roger Stevens Drive under Part 4 of the Ontario Heritage Act, that the Agriculture and Rural Affairs Committee recommend that Council issue a notice of intention to designate 2659 Roger Stevens Drive under Part 4 of the Ontario Heritage Act according to the Statement of Cultural Heritage Value attached as Document 6, and repeal Bylaw 49-85 as the effective date of the bylaw, designating the property as outlined in Recommendation 1. Is that carried? Item number 3, the status update, Agriculture and Rural Affairs Committee inquiries and motions for the period ending January 30th, 2014. That the Agriculture and Rural Affairs Committee received this report for information. Is that received? Item number 4, Municipal Act charge for the Farmers Way extension of the Carlsbad Alternative Standard Water Supply. That the Agriculture and Rural Affairs Committee recommend Council approve a bylaw to assess property owner charges for Farmers Way local improvement as outlined in this report. Is that carried? Thank you. Item number 5, zoning 200 Westbrook Road, that Agriculture and Rural Affairs Committee recommend Council approve an amendment for zoning bylaw 2008-250 to change the zoning of 200 Westbrook Road from rural general, industrial, Carp Road Corridor Subzone 5, RG5, to rural general, industrial, Carp Road Corridor Subzone 5, rural exemption, RG5, as detailed in Document 1. Do you have, just before we vote on that, a question, Councillor Kadri?
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Just one question for staff about public consultation on this item. Anybody here from staff that can answer?
Good morning, committee members. My name is Justina Garbos, and I am Planner in Development Review Rural Services.
Could you just pull the mic a little closer? Thanks.
Thank you very much. Just a question in terms, I know the report says that there was public consultation done or carried out according to the rules and regulations. Just want to ask, are you aware of what the attendance was like at the open houses?
As far as the open houses, those were carried through another process. It was the municipal class environmental assessment. And there were 2 public open houses, and the details of the consultation are documented in the final report for both phases 1 and 2 of that EA process. As far as the zoning amendment consultation, there was heads up given to the ward councillor as well as community associations within the vicinity of the property. And then there was a formal circulation to those community associations and landowners within 120 meters of the property.
So the landowners within the required distance of 120 meters were notified?
That is correct.
All right. Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Thank you, Councillor Kadri. On item number 5, is that carried? Item number 6, there is a technical amendment, so we'll just hold that for a minute, or do you want to do it right now? Let's do it right now. Okay. So I'll read the zoning 2307 Carsonby Road, that Agriculture and Rural Affairs Committee recommend Council approve an amendment to the zoning bylaw 2008-250 to change the zoning of 2307 Carsonby Road from agricultural AG to agricultural subzone 6 AG6 as detailed in document 1. Councillor Moffat, you have a technical amendment.
Yeah, just on page 1, the report recommendations, line 3, 2307 Carsonby Road from agricultural to agricultural subzone 6 be modified to 2307 Carsonby Road from agricultural to agricultural subzone 5. That wherever reference is made in the report and documents attached thereto to the zone identified as AG6 is incorrect and should be changed to AG5, and that no further notice be provided pursuant to Section 34, subsection 17 of the Planning Act.
Okay. So on the amendment, carried. And on item 6 as amended? Okay, thank you. Item number 7, the zoning of 4347 Second Line Road, future Gordon Murdoch Road. We have speakers on that, so we will hold that and come back to it. 2 speakers, 1 opposed and 1 in support. Zoning, item number 8, zoning 755 Burton Road, that Agricultural Rural Affairs Committee recommend Council approve an amendment to zoning bylaw 2008-250 to change the zoning of the lands at 755 Burton Road from agricultural subzone 2 AG2 to agricultural subzone 7 AG7, and the agricultural zone subzone 2 special exemption AG2 as shown in document 1 and detailed in document 2. Is that carried? Thank you. Item number 8, the zoning of 2160 Burnt Lands Road, that Agriculture and Rural Affairs Committee recommend Council approve an amendment to zoning bylaw 2008-250 to change the zoning of a portion of 2160 Burnt Lands Road from agricultural subzone 1 AG1 to agricultural subzone 5 AG5 to permit only agricultural uses on the retained portion as shown in document 1. Is that carried? Item number 10, zoning 2240 Roger Stevens Drive, that the Agriculture and Rural Affairs Committee recommend Council approve an amendment to zoning bylaw 2008-250 to change the zoning of 2240 Roger Stevens Drive from Village Residential First Density Subzone C with an exemption V1C to Village Residential First Density Subzone G with an exemption V1G and Village Residential First Density Subzone G with an exception VIG to permit a 13-lot residential subdivision as shown in document 1 and 3 and detailed in document 2. Does anyone want me to explain it further? We have a speaker who agrees to this from Novatech Engineering, so I presume the representative, you are in support of this, and you don't wish to speak to it if we pass it. But you don't know that till. Okay, on this item number 10, is that carried? Thank you very much. Just going to take a drink of water here. A lot of reading. Zoning 6790 Rita Valley Drive. That the Agriculture and Rural Affairs Committee recommend Council approve an amendment to zoning bylaw 2008-250 to change the zoning of 6790 Rita Valley Drive from Agricultural AG and Development Reserve Subzone 1 DR1 to Agricultural Subzone 5 AG. Agricultural Rural Exception AG and Village Residential First Density Subzone B Rural Exception VIP as shown in document 1 and detailed in document 2. On that item, carried. I'm glad Mr. Mark is here because if we needed an explanation, he would be the one I would ask. Zoning 6274 Rito Valley Drive, that the Agriculture and Rural Affairs Committee recommend Council approve an amendment to zoning bylaw 2008-250 to change the zoning of part of 6274 Rito Valley Drive as shown in document 1 from agricultural AG to agricultural subzone 4 AG4 to prohibit future residential uses on the land. Is that carried? Okay, we will go back to Item 1. And item 1, we have a presentation from the Winchester and District Memorial Hospital. So, Charlie, welcome. And I just as a matter of introduction, Winchester and District Memorial Hospital is outside of the boundaries of the City of Ottawa, but they serve probably the best portion of the City of Ottawa, a good portion of Osgood Ward, and so they, as a matter of fact, they wish to move their presence a little farther north into Finley Creek, and they are part of the Ottawa Hospital grouping. So the Winchester Hospital asked if they would come to speak to the Rural Affairs Committee. So I will turn it over to Charlie. You can introduce yourself and tell us all about what...
Thank you very much. And thank you for that introduction. I do represent the Winchester Memorial Hospital. I'm the Chief Executive Officer of the hospital. We are a rural hospital, hence I really appreciate the opportunity to present to this particular committee. We do serve a considerable number of people from the City of Ottawa, and we've also been referred to as one of the best kept secrets in Eastern Ontario. So what I'd like to do is spend a few minutes just talking to you about where we are, if you don't know exactly that, what we do, and especially a bit of boasting how well we do it. So in case you're not absolutely clear on where Winchester is, you can see the large circle is the City of Ottawa. From downtown to downtown, Winchester to Ottawa is about 45-minute drive. We're not quite a suburb, but we certainly serve a lot of people, as you can see there, from Osgood, Manotick, Vernon, Metcalfe, and Greeley, and actually beyond there. So just to tell you a bit what we do, and what we do specifically to the residents of Ottawa, we provide surgery, an emergency department, cancer care, inpatient care, deliver a lot of babies, and certainly serve outpatients. And what these represent is anywhere from 10 to 25% of the work the hospital does, specifically to Ottawa residents. And it's quite a range of services. I've been at the hospital for about 2.5 years, and when I travel around, I usually get a couple of questions. Is there really a hospital in Winchester? And if there is, there couldn't be much to it, a small Band-Aid station with an emergency department. So part of what I want to dispel, us being a well-kept secret, is anything but. We are a rural teaching hospital. We have a full range of surgical services and 3 operating rooms. Again, serve people not only in Ottawa, but from probably a 1 to 2 hour radius of Winchester. We have one of the largest and highest profile maternity programs in all of Ontario. We serve people with kidney problems, people who unfortunately have cancer. We've just included a sleep clinic, and the services we provide could go on and on. So part of what we do is we provide hospital services to patients who need it. We also are a teaching hospital. We have a family medicine resident program where medical students spend, after they get their MD, they spend their entire 2 years in Winchester getting their postgraduate work done. We have 300 other trainees who come through and keep us on our toes and help us drive quality. And that's not all. We also have almost 80 physicians who do academic work with the University of Ottawa. So we may be a rural hospital, but we do a lot of things kind of beyond what you might expect of that. We're fortunate to have about 500 people involved in the operation of the hospital, obviously staff, family physicians, and a whole array of specialists. Again, we're not just a one service organization or 1 or 2 services. We've got quite a sophisticated range of services. We're also very proud of how well we do. Every hospital in Ontario has an outside firm that monitors patient satisfaction. Those aren't misprints. In some cases, 100% of the people that are surveyed provide us with a favorable rating. Very often, rural hospitals have high ratings. Seldom are we this high. In fact, every year there's a report that comes out provincially and has named us our maternity program the #1 program and maternity program in Ontario. Not the #1 among small hospitals, but the #1 compared to big city hospitals, small hospitals, every other program in Ontario. And it's also with our inpatient care, that's been named among the top 2 or 3 programs, outstanding programs in Ontario. So that's not us just boasting of ourselves, that's kind of external bodies saying, blessing us and giving us that validation. And this is just confirming that we're the #1 maternity program in Ontario. As I mentioned, we're 45 minutes from downtown Ottawa. Certainly we have moms coming to us from a 2-hour radius. We have specialists, we have highly trained nurses, we have family doctors, we have midwives in this very high profile program. We also pride ourselves on our quality. This year we were awarded through Accreditation Canada, which compares us against national standards for quality, and we got their highest award, exemplary standing. So you know when you come to Winchester, you will provide a high range of services with a high level of satisfaction and high quality, just as high quality as any other hospital, not only in Ontario but in Canada. We don't stand pat. We do a lot of new things. This year we added 3 new physicians. We've got 2 more coming on this coming year. One of our programs we added this year was a sleep lab. That's something that there's 3 or 4 others in Eastern Ontario. They all have wait times, wait lists. When you come to Winchester, if you're frustrated by hospital parking rates, you'll be pleased to know that it costs $2 to spend the whole day at the hospital. We also have a pain clinic too. Again, we do academics, we do hospital service. We also are starting a research program, and we're not looking after the latest drug or the latest procedure, but basically focusing on population research. How best do we care for a rural population? Because if you look at research journals, most of the work is done in urban populations. So this is some of the things we've done in the past, and we're building a research program to go forward. Again, we pride ourselves in improving things. We've reduced our ER wait times by about 20%, one of the lowest in Eastern Ontario. And then if you talk about wait times and compare us to city organizations or others in Eastern Ontario, you can see for surgical programs, we're a lot shorter again than the Eastern Ontario average, as with cancer procedures, different surgery. And to see a specialist, we don't track these data because we don't organize the hospital or the physician's offices. But to see a specialist, whether it's a gynecologist, a cardiologist, I suspect if you're in the city, you're looking at months, if not several months, just to get in to see them the first time in their office. I can tell you in Winchester, in the physicians who are associated with us, it's much, much shorter than that. It would be days, if not weeks at the most. We're not just a hospital. We have a partnership with the long-term care home that's right next door to the hospital, 150 feet away. There's 100 residents in that home. At any time, there's usually 15 or 20 from the city of Ottawa. So we're serving them from long-term care. The hospital doesn't own the long-term care home. We manage it, and we also pool our skills to make sure we provide the very best care we can for seniors, both in the hospital, in the home, and in the community. We have another, on our campus, we have another building. We call it the Community Care Building. It's the site for the CCAC, the health unit, and 2 social service agencies. So on the campus, we have the hospital, we have the nursing home in this building, and we all work together. We share training in our boards of directors. The job zone does hiring for all the different agencies. If we need someone to get a flu shot or some immunization, we refer right to the offices there. If someone is coming in for a short time to look for a job or to come to the hospital, we have someone who looks after their children. So it's more than just a site for some tenants. We all work together. So that's kind of what we do today, but again, as I mentioned, we're more than just a hospital, and this is a bit of a depiction of what we're doing, where we're going. We call ourselves the Center of Excellence for Rural Health and Education. I think I've given you some evidence that we provide excellence in a lot of different areas. Very much a focus on rural, but you can see from this pictorial, we're a partnership of a hospital, seniors care, community care, our physicians, united through technology and education and research, but basically to focus on those folks in the middle. And I don't call them patients, I call them people, because if you're in a hospital and you're a person, we call you a patient. If you're in a long-term care home, we call you a resident. If you're in the community, we call you a client, but very often you're the same person. So we are trying to bring healthcare in our sphere of influence together to serve those people the very best. And just looking to the future, we just developed and confirmed a strategic plan. We learned a few things from that. We know that people more and more are heavily involved in their care. They're very much, there's something referred to as Dr. Google. Someone goes to the internet, then goes to see the doctor and says, this is what I've got and this is how I'm going to be treated. And that may or may not be good, but that's what's happening. The government itself, no matter which party, they all have a white paper or a policy that says you're supposed to be bringing services together for the benefit of your clients, your people, and that's what our Center of Excellence is all about. We're focusing very much on quality and efficiency. Government is changing the way that things are being funded, and they're actually calling it quality-based funding. So we're very efficient, and I've mentioned already that we're very high quality. And we just have a lot of strengths, opportunities that we're very proud of. So moving forward, we're going to continue doing what we're doing. We're building on that. For example, our dialysis program for people who have kidney disease. Now you have to go into the city to get your initial workup before you come out to treatment. We're developing a clinic so you can have all your services if you've got kidney disease in Winchester. We're collaborating a lot. We're working with the Maplesoft Center, for example, here in Ottawa, to have a bit of a satellite program for cancer survivors in the community in Winchester. We're working with telemedicine to bring more and more services. We'll provide access from Winchester. Just this week, we were meeting with the Briere Continuing Care to provide some seniors clinics out in Winchester. And I mentioned we're developing a research program to make sure the rural care we provide is as good or better than any other rural area, and we can share that with other rural areas. And it's all in service of those people, whether they're in Winchester or Chesterville or Morrisburg or the city of Ottawa, or from the city of Ottawa. And we have a lot of shining stars, about 500 of them involved in the work of the hospital, and these are just some of them that share with us the pride in what we do. So just wondering what questions I can answer.
Thank you very much, Charlie, and I didn't have to give you the hook.
No, but I saw you switch sheets.
Anyway, thank you very much for that. I don't know, I had a couple of questions. Are there any questions? I was wondering if you might just go back to your first slide that shows where Winchester is located in relation to the city boundary.
Let's see if we can do this. There we go.
Yeah, and I think that the Vernon is the southern extremity, or little past the village of Vernon is the border of the city of Ottawa, and from Winchester is probably, the Winchester Hospital is about 10 minutes away from Vernon, so a number of our residents from there in Metcalfe, and the catchment area is fairly extensive. And I wanted to I teased Charlie a little bit because both my parents died in the Winchester Hospital, but it wasn't for lack of care. It's just a disease. But one of the things that I really am amazed at is the service that you provide. I think dialysis is one that was brought on a few years ago, and people used to have to travel into the city, but you have that program. So you do have a lot of programs that people from the Winchester, North Dundas area used to have to travel into the city and don't have to do that now.
That's correct. Cancer care is one of them. Dialysis is one of them. And the important thing to know is the standards that we have to meet to qualify to provide those services are exactly the same standards as any other hospital, as a bigger hospital, as a city hospital. Sometimes there's this stereotype of a little hospital and they're just making do, and it's anything but. As I mentioned, our levels of quality, the things that we have to demonstrate to qualify for those programs are on a par with any other hospital anywhere. So not only do we have the breadth, but we have that level of quality.
The other thing I just want to make note of, I think you said that the parking was $2 for a full day. That's really nice to hear. And the last point, the Winchester Hospital is connected with the City of Ottawa Emergency Preparedness Plan. If there was a case of a major catastrophe, I think you're connected with the City of Ottawa if we had to send people there in emergencies.
That's absolutely correct. In fact, I guess however long ago was when there was that unfortunate tragedy at the train crossing, we were notified and put on alert that we might be having to receive some casualties from that. So that's just one recent example.
Okay. Well, thanks very much for your presentation. We really appreciate you coming and the service you provide to a lot of our residents. And hopefully we won't have too many going south, but if there is a need, you certainly are prepared to help us out, so we appreciate it.
Thank you again. If you ever should hear from any of your constituents, either a question or a concern with views of the hospital, please direct them to us. We'd love to hear from them.
Okay. And the presentation, do we have that? Okay, thanks very much.
Thanks.
Okay, we're going to move back to our agenda, and the one item that was held was the zoning of 4347 Second Line Road, future Gordon Murdoch Road, and I would just ask staff to come forward. Pardon me?
Receive the presentation.
Sure.
He wants you to receive the presentation from the hospital.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. If I might beg the indulgence, Councillor Deputy Mayor Al Shantiri has asked that we receive the presentation from the Winchester District Memorial Hospital. So on receiving that presentation, carried. So, Jeff, if you would introduce your team, and then we'll move forward with the presentation. Jeff in the middle.
So I've got, my name is Jeff McEwen. I'm the Program Manager for Development Review Rural. I have with me Jeff Ostafichuk. He's the planner assigned to the file, and Amira Shahada. She's a transportation engineer.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, members of committee. This zoning amendment bylaw examines the appropriateness of a zoning change at 4347 Second Line Road. Subject property is located in the east of Second Line Road, north of Belmead, former township of Osgood, just north of the municipal boundary of North Dundas. The purpose of this amendment is to rezone the subject lands to allow for a new pit operation. The parcel to rezone is 22.5 hectares in size with a single dwelling, barn, and auxiliary uses. There is additional contiguous parcel that is also subject of a Class A pit license, but these lands are already zoned for aggregate extraction, albeit with a holding bylaw that can be lifted subject to the fulfillment of a number of technical conditions. In total, the proposed pit area associated with the primary application is 52 hectares in size. Surrounding lands are primarily agricultural with some woodlots and two nearby residential areas of note, Fawn Lane and K Court Drive. The land is currently designated sand and gravel area and general rural area. The designations permit the extraction of aggregates subject to a zoning amendment. The amendment must be supported with studies that show that there are sufficient aggregate and they can be extracted without impacting adjacent and nearby land uses. The current zoning is rural, countryside, and mineral reserve. These zones do not permit a mineral extraction. The purpose of the mineral reserve lands is to protect the lands for future aggregate extraction subject to a request for rezoning. The applicant has submitted a number of technical studies to support the proposed use. Groundwater, noise, natural environment impact statement, and a traffic brief have all been submitted, reviewed by staff, and we are satisfied with the recommendations and conclusions. Further, the applicant has applied for a pit license for the Ministry of Natural Resources. There have been a number of comments of concern received from nearby residents and the two adjacent residential areas, namely K Court and Fawn Lane. Concerns range from blasting to noise, groundwater concerns, and environmental impacts. Staff note that a pit is proposed so the aggregates can be removed without the need for blasting. Further, all groundwater concerns have been addressed in the hydrological report, and environmental impacts have also been addressed in the environmental impact statement. There have also been comments regarding the impact of traffic from the proposed use. A number of residents have suggested that the entrance to the proposed pit should be located off the Second Line Road. However, Second Line Road is not viable as it is neither a truck route nor is it built to a standard to support such traffic. Although Stagecoach Road's use is less desirable to the public, there have been a number of measures recommended to improve the safety, such as early warning measures to identify heavy vehicle access, like warning signs and flashing lights north and south of the site access. Further, paved shoulders on both sides of the access will be provided to ease access and egress. Additionally, the entrance will have lighting installed for greater visibility. The entrance from Stagecoach Road has been supported by transportation study, and staff accepts the conclusions of the said study. Finally, additional comments have been received regarding matters that are not under municipal jurisdiction, such as hours of operation. These matters are subject to M&R approval under any licensing. The zoning of the site proposed to be amended is as follows. Mineral aggregate reserve to mineral extraction. Rural countryside to mineral extraction. And as noted earlier in my presentation, there are additional lands associated with the subject to this application, which are in a holding zone and proposed to be lifted under a separate application. In summary, the proposed use of the land as a pit is not seen as incompatible with existing land uses given the results of the technical studies and the recommendations that will be implemented. Indeed, existing zoning on part of the subject site anticipates this use. It is further noted that the K-Court subdivision lands titles actually contain a notice that a pit may be located on the adjacent property. The applicant has submitted a number of technical studies that support the use, and accordingly, the amendment recommending approval by staff. Thank you.
We have two speakers, so do you wish to hear the speakers first, and then there may be questions for staff? Okay, thanks very much. So we have speakers. I guess you could just remain there. Our first speaker, Hugh Roddick. Welcome to Ottawa City Hall.
Thank you very much. I appreciate the opportunity to address you. Right now? Is that better? Yes, I understand completely. With 5 minutes, that's why I decided not to do anything elaborate in the way of a presentation. You have a two-page handout, I hope, which contains the points that I'd like to address. Basically, with the picture up there, I'd like to start by saying I think that this is, not that I'm keen on having another hole in the ground beside me. To put it in perspective, I live 1,500 feet to the north of the proposed pit. Okay, I think it's an excellent business opportunity for R.W. Tomlinson. I think that the material underneath is appropriately used, and I have no objection to the pit. My sole objection is to bringing the exit out where the black markers are on Regional Road 25, Stagecoach Road. That's the reason I'm here. And I didn't have any other way to object than through this zoning, because it's, as is stated in page 4, that the staff approves or concurs with the exit. So basically, I'm here today to object to the exit, not actually to the zoning per se, the rezoning per se. But this seems to be my only mechanism to object to the exit. Now, just to give you background, I've been a resident of Stagecoach Road since 1984, so it's 30 years this year that I've lived on this road. I've experienced one fatality on this road in the period that I've lived there. A person was killed at the corner of Stagecoach Road and Dalmany Road, which is just north of here, about 1 mile. and what it was at the time, there was only a two-way stop. Residents had been complaining for quite a long time to requesting that it be made a four-way stop because the road was dangerous, because we have a lot of experience with the road. It's a very, very fast traveled road. Unfortunately, nothing was done, and someone was killed. There was a fatality there, and immediately within days there was a four-way stop. Now, as I say, I've lived here 30 years on this road, and I don't want to experience another fatality in my lifetime there. I've had a number of people in my ditch. This is a very straight road. There should be no real reason why people should be hurt or killed on it, in a sense, except that they travel at extremely high speed. I've had 3 major accidents in my ditch, which is along a kilometer and a quarter of perfectly straight road. Fortunately, all 3 were severely drunk and so survived. I think if they'd been sober, they'd have been dead. So that's the background on why I'm presenting here today. Okay, so I'd like to start by saying that I believe that the proposed exit onto Stagecoach Road has a very high risk of producing a major traffic accident. That's why I'm here to object. I believe that other exit options haven't been properly considered, okay, in the conclusion. In the considerations, I think there's 2 considerations. One of them, and I'll just read my point, all liability for accidents or facilities occurring on Stagecoach Road once the pit exit is approved are the City of Ottawa's responsibility. Now, that was given to me directly by the engineer that did the traffic studies and by the project manager for Tomlinson. So all liability for anything that occurs on the road on Stagecoach will be the City of Ottawa's. So if an accident happens, it's the city's challenge. And I guess the second corollary of that is you guys are the committee that really looks after these interests, and council at large will almost invariably approve whatever you bring forward. So this is the opportunity for the city to make the road safer, which is why I'm here talking today. I mean, there's no point talking to council. You're the important people. So I guess to go to my issues, the traffic study was a tremendous issue for me, okay? And I'll just bring the points up quickly. Tomlinson, R.W. Tomlinson commissioned traffic studies, a number of them, of which I have all of the documentation, and I've done an extensive reading. Just so you have my background, I'm a systems engineer. I'm not a P-Eng, but I've had a lot of P-Engs work for me over the years. So I do have a background in all of this stuff. And I did counts in May, June 2013.
I forgot to inform you have 1 minute, so because I really like you, okay. I'm going to give you a little extra time.
Okay. The traffic studies, there was a 74% increase in traffic. Okay, that should be alarming in itself. The average speed on the road is 95 kilometers an hour. All the traffic studies were done at 80 kilometers an hour. Tomlinson did the studies on 10-meter trucks, but they drive a very large fleet, and most of the trucks that run along the road are truck-trailer combinations, so they're twice as long and twice as heavy. The Reeds Mills pit's going to likely operate for at least 50 years because Logland's been running 80. So you're making decisions for the next 50 years on how people pull out. So they did a test. The city didn't refuse to do a field test to see whether one truck pulling out, what the speed would be. From my point of view, that was an opportunity to do due diligence to ensure that the traffic studies that the city is depending on are correct. So the city hasn't done the traffic studies. They've depended completely on Tomlinson. As far as an exit safety point of view, the trucks are going to come out. They're going to try and crest a hill. They're going to be doing 50 kilometers an hour, after which they're going to come along on about a 1 kilometer straight road. Okay? When I was doing the studies in the 6 hours I was sitting there, I saw as many as 5 cars pass all at once, like go by a car that was going slower. And I saw on multiple occasions a car almost not get past, and the car that was going southbound have to almost stop, slow down a lot to let it in. There's going to be accidents there. There's no 2 ways about it. And when you have trucks going 200 times a day over the top of that ridge at about 50 kilometers an hour, there's going to be an awful lot of people passing on that straightaway. Okay? If you change the exit, you're going to save a lot of fuel.
I hate to give you the hook, but if you could...
Okay. The Stagecoach is in absolutely abysmal condition. If you want to drive it at all, please do. It's going to cost the city a lot of money to rebuild all of Stagecoach for this pit. A safer option would be to bring it out on the corner at Dalmeny. That little part that's marked as yellow, Tomlinson also owns. At Belmead. Belmead is a paved road. They could bring it out on the corner there and bring it along to a stop sign at the corner of Belmead and Stagecoach, and then everyone, thank you, that was helpful.
They didn't do that on purpose.
Okay, I believe it. And then that would bring it out at the corner of Belmead and Stagecoach, where you could put a full four-way stop, and then all trucks and traffic would start at the same speed. The other consideration is then they would start on the trucks would start on a downhill on the northbound direction, which is 90% of the traffic, and they would start on a level on the southbound direction, which would make all of the trucking much safer. That's all I'm asking. Just please give serious consideration to moving the exit. It's as I said before, it's an excellent opportunity for R.W. Tomlinson, and I'd just like to see it as a safe, excellent opportunity. Thank you very much for your consideration.
Thank you very much. I appreciate...
Any questions you might have?
Yeah, we do have a couple, I believe, and I appreciate your comments in regard to the fact that, that the pit, the licensing of the pit, you have no objection to. And that really, I think that speaks highly of you, because you could be arguing about that, but that's been safeguarded aggregate. So I appreciate your coming forward with that comment, and I do appreciate that your major concern is safety and of the trucks in that road, because it's going to make a difference. Are there questions, Councillor Blais?
Yes, sir. So are the traffic folks here, the guys that did the study? Jeff? From the applicant, or?
There is a representative from Tomlinson who will be presenting a...
Oh, is he speaking after?
Yes.
Okay, so, sir, would a stop sign or some other kind of traffic mechanism at the proposed exit alleviate your concerns, do you think?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
And I mean, even if you put a stop sign, for example, which I don't know if that's legal to put a stop sign, well, I suppose it is, right at the exit, the trucks still have to climb that hill and still won't be going very slow when they open up onto the long straightaway.
So is that northbound or southbound?
The northbound truck. Well, the southbound trucks have to climb out as well. So there's two issues, really. I mean, one's, I guess, a lesser concern for the city right now, which is environmental. Over the 50 or 60-year lifetime of the pit, coming out on a level versus coming out in the middle of a gully is going to be huge environmental impact from the point of view of fuel consumption over 50 years. But my concern is actually, and it's really more northbound than southbound, and 90% of the traffic is going northbound, is the fact that they're going to crest the hill, if the traffic studies are right, at 50 kilometers an hour. Now, that was based on a 10-meter truck. If you take a twice as long a truck and twice as heavy a truck, it's probably slower than that. And so these cars, when they come out there, I mean, when I say the average is 95 kilometers an hour, there's days when people are in a hurry, and it's a lot faster than that. And there's a lot of people passing. And so the trucks are going to come out over the top of the hill and go like a...
How far north is the top of the hill? Like I've never...
285 meters. 285 meters, I think.
Is it on this map, sir?
Sorry?
Is the crest of the hill on this map?
Yeah. If you look at the black arrow there,
yeah.
Okay, and you look at just up here at Fawn Lane where it exits out, that's where the crest is. So when you see the 25 indicator, the Highway 25, Regional Road 25, the crest is just past that. Okay. So they have to climb out.
Yeah, that's fine. Okay. Wonderful, thank you. Thank you very much for your presentation.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions? Okay, thanks very much for that, and appreciate your coming in, and it's nice to see you again. And I know very well the condition of the road. Matter of fact, the condition of 25 north of Dalmeny is in really bad shape. It's worse than in front of your place. So, I mean, and I think we've talked with the city road staff, and that section, I don't know the timeline, but that's going to have to be resurfaced very soon, that section, because it's in bad shape now. Even driving my van, it's not.
Unfortunately, there's nothing in the budget with the city for the next 3 years. I've done an ATIP on that, and access to information, and there's nothing planned for the next 3 years at least.
But sometimes you can move that up. I mean, projects can be moved up. So
it would be nice to have moved up 3 or 4 years even without the pit. But
okay, thanks very much for coming in. Our next speaker is Dominic from R.W. Tomlinson. Welcome, Dominic. If you just introduce yourself. And
thank you, Mr. Chair. Good morning, Mr. Chair and members of the committee. My name is Dominic Idoni, and I represent Tomlinson, R.W. Tomlinson. I am the manager of planning and environment. The zoning application that is before you today is to allow for a sand and gravel pit with extraction below the established water table. The area that's proposed to be licensed is 52 hectares, with approximately 45 hectares proposed for extraction. This location, in the city of Ottawa, there's a scarcity of good quality sand and gravel deposits. The subject lands that you see in front of you contain sand and gravel resources of primary and secondary significance, as identified by the Ontario Geological Survey. What that means is that this important resource is suitable for high quality uses such as concrete sand, asphalt sand, mortar sand, and granular materials. I was going to talk about the planning process, but I'll skip that because that's already been covered. Before this official process began, that is before the actual ARA, Agri-Resource License application and city license was submitted, R.W. Tomlinson held 2 information sessions, pre-consultation sessions with homeowners from around the area, including residents from K Court, Farm Lane, and people around the area. That was done in that was done in February of 2012 and March of 2013. The purpose of those meetings was to provide information and also to listen to the concerns that people may have so that we could deal with them during the design of the pit before the applications were actually submitted. The applications under the ARA and the zoning were submitted in April of 2013. The pit and zoning applications included technical studies such as truck, traffic, noise, natural environment, water, land use planning, and archaeological studies. The results of those technical studies have been incorporated in the site plans, which have been submitted with the Ministry of Natural Resources, and they will regulate the operation of the pit. Extraction of this site will proceed in stages with ongoing progressive rehabilitation. The end result here will be a lake with shallow shoreline and wetland areas. A variety of trees will be planted within the setbacks, both during the operations and as part of the rehabilitation plan. A public information session, as required under the Agri-Resources Act, was held on September 12, 2013, to provide residents with more information on the application and to answer any further questions that they may have. The subject lands are located along a designated truck route, which is Stagecoach Road. The recent OP review continues to identify it as such through the Transportation Master Plan. Trucks will utilize Stagecoach as the haul route and avoid local roads consistent with city policy. The proposed site access has been chosen, taking into account safe site distances, truck acceleration times, traffic volumes along Stagecoach roads, and separation from existing intersections. Tomlinson has also agreed to the site requirements outlined by staff, which you have in the report from staff. as we heard, one of the concerns, through the commenting period, and as we heard today, was that the access being moved closer to Second Line Road due to safety concerns. In response, we, RW Tomlinson, undertook additional traffic work to assess the proposed site access on Stagecoach Road. It was concluded that trucks could safely use the site access based on existing sight lines, operating speeds, and traffic volumes. The city's transportation staff agreed with these conclusions. When we design these types of operations, we not only take into account municipal transportation policies, we also try to choose the route of least impact. Stagecoach Road is a designated truck route, while Second Line Road is a local gravel road.
Dominic, you have 1 minute.
Sure. If the access was moved to Second Line Road, not only would be inconsistent with city policy, it would also be a route that does not have the least impact. Significant improvements with significant costs would be required to the existing road network, trucks would pass more local residences, and the additional travel distance would result in additional fossil fuels being consumed over the life of the quarry, which in itself would have environmental impacts. From what I heard earlier, I don't think it's a technical issue, it's more of an enforcement issue on that road. All the studies that we have support this application. From water to natural environment. I just want to point out through our pre-consultation, visually the operations will be screened by landscape berms and tree screens. As I said, this through our pre-consultation with the residents around the area, that was an important element, and that's been emphasized in our site plans. We've concluded that the proposed application can operate within provincial standards and minimize the social impacts on the surrounding areas. We received numerous comments from the public in regard to the zoning application. I submitted a chart to previously that I hope you have that shows our responses back to those comments. We received 2 objections through the agency and public consultation through the provincial process through the Agri Resources Act. Both the Rideau Valley Conservation Authority and the South Nation Conservation Authority have reviewed this application and do not object to it. In conclusion, we support staff's recommendation to approve the zoning bylaw amendment, and we anticipate staff will recommend the removal of the holding symbol on the remaining land shortly. Thank you very much, and happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you very much. Are there questions for Dominic before he leaves? Okay, I don't think there are questions, but I just want to thank you, Dominic, for the way that this file has been handled. I know you were out very early because there was concern, obviously, from the residents in the 2 subdivisions across the road, and I think you eliminate a lot of their concerns being out front with this, and I know I attended a couple of those meetings. I think the residents appreciated finding out, because when an application like this comes forward, it sometimes is residents' worst nightmare, but I think you've handled that process really well, so I wanted to thank you for that. And
thank you, Mr. Chair. We have the issue with Stagecoach Road, which is not related to the pit itself. It's thank you for the work that you've done on that file.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Committee members.
Okay, so now the heavy lifting comes. Councillor Deputy Mayor Al Shantiri.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And obviously, we heard from the resident and we heard from the applicant. There's a concern with the road itself, and I can relate to that in some of the area we have where heavy trucking involved with residential traffic. Now, from a study on the traffic, we heard about also enforcement or lack of enforcement. Have we checked the road with the OPS and our traffic staff? What's the average speed on that road? What's the enforcement? Do we have any detail on this?
Just a minute here. We have a speed survey that was conducted last fall for that area of Stagecoach. The average speed there is, I'm trying to find the exact number. this one here, yeah. Is 83 kilometers per hour, and in the northbound direction, and 84 in the southbound direction.
And what's the speed limit posted there?
The posted speed is 80 kilometers per hour.
Oh, wow. Okay. So obviously, it's not the problem. It's not the enforcement of the road. Basically, if that's the average speed of between 83 and 84, and the speed, do we have an estimation what's going to be once truck involved with the road, or can we do some estimation how much slower it's going to be the traffic once the truck?
Usually with the creation of new access on the road, the average speed comes down for consideration of turning vehicles into and out of the new access. We believe that the speed would be a bit lower in that area once the new access is created.
Okay. Because we heard earlier, adding an extra stop sign, and I have to tell you, being in a rural area and having a stop sign on 80-kilometer road, if it's not worn, will create a different kind of problem. And I don't want to debate it here, but we have to be careful when what we wish for sometimes, because a stop sign in a wrong location can give a false expectation and cause more accident than less accident if we don't have it. And we have a few examples in the rural area when we push staff just to put a stop sign, and reality is you don't need a stop sign, you need enforcement, because if a stop sign there and people don't follow the rule, well, it gives you a bad experience. Anyway, the other question I have is about blasting. So we heard, and we have that right across the city. We told the resident blasting is monitored by M&R, and they're the one who monitor the sizing of the blasting, and they're supposed to inform some of the residential. But then I saw on slide 9 we talk about blasting. So I'd like to know, when it comes to blasting and people have concern, is the city who's going to take responsibility and enforce it with the quarry operator, or is going to be the ministry? Because that needs to be clear. And you, on the slide number 9, if you go back to your slide number 9, you talk about the blasting and that quarry.
I believe that
I guess the quick answer is there will be no blasting in this pit operation. It's more of excavation, sand. There's no quarry operation in this.
And if blasting happened, does the city have the authority to stop that, or if the quarry operation within the mandate from M&R? I'd like to know, because we hear that, oh no, there's not going to be any blasting, and next thing you know, there's a blasting taking place. And people call us and say, no, the city doesn't monitor the blasting. So I'd like to clarify this for our residents. Like, what is it?
My understanding when it comes to blasting or quarry operations is it's the owner or the proponent has to, generally what they'll do, and I think it's part of their personal insurance, when they start blasting, they typically go around the adjacent lands and ensure that, first of all, they check whether or not there's any current damage, whether it's cracks in foundations and so on. They identify that, and then certainly when the blasting takes place, they do get complaints, but they've monitored that prior to that. So it is the owner's responsibility. We receive the complaints, of course, but it is monitored through their own ability.
Right. Mr. Mark, if blasting took place on a quarry, is the city can enforce that, or M&R has to enforce the blasting and the level of blasting take place? I understand this file say, there's no need for blasting, but I'm sorry to be a little bit inconvinced, because sometimes those things take place. I'd like to make sure if those take place on the quarry, should they call the city or should they call MNR?
They should, Mr. Chair, they should call the Ministry of Natural Resources. It's not a city matter to enforce.
Thank you very much. And I think as Mr. Oshchuk has indicated, on this particular site, there would be no blasting, but I think it's, when we're talking about pits, it is an issue. Most quarries have a public liaison committee, and there are very strict regulations. They have to notify when they're going to blast, and if there are issues, normally the residents will call the operator and or they should be contacting the MNR, and then the MNR and the quarry operator will have to work it out, because the blasting is very strictly supervised by the MNR, and so.
Clarified. It needs to be clarified. I'm glad we clarified.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Deputy Mayor El Shantiri, Councillor Kadri.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. And just a question for the Traffic Department. In terms of this new exit that's going to be created on Stagecoach Road, the modification for the road itself in terms of turning lanes, in terms of speed-up lanes for the trucks going up embankment, is that the responsibility of the city, or will that be responsibility of the proponent?
It is the responsibility of the proponent, but we should indicate that based on the numbers and the calculations of the study, there are no turning lanes requirements.
Okay, what about the speed-up lanes? Because if the trucks are coming out of here, and as the public representatives presented, that there is a steep embankment beyond this exit, are we going to provide some kind of acceleration lanes for those trucks?
No acceleration lanes required. The existing road has enough capacity to accommodate truck traffic. It's a two-lane arterial road, and it has sufficient capacity for the truck traffic. In terms of the access to the pit, we have requested that it should be built in accordance to the private approach by law, and it should be paved for a distance of at least 30 meters from the property line into the site, and accommodate, of course, signages and the flashing lights to alert motorists of the location of the access.
So there will be some warning for the motorist that slow-moving trucks or whatever are ahead in order to accommodate those trucks as they pick up speed going up the embankment.
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay, so you're saying that there is no need for another lane of acceleration or deceleration in terms of going up that hill for those trucks? Because, I mean, the trucks are coming out of the exit, yet they're coming onto an 80-kilometer-an-hour speed limit posted on Stagecoach Road. They're certainly not going to be doing that speed going up the hill. So should we not have looked at some kind of an acceleration lane for them so they're not affecting the natural flow of the traffic?
The calculations provided indicate that it would be a minimal delay for the motorists following the trucks. It is about 30 seconds for any vehicle following the truck in order to reach the posted speed on the road.
Okay, thank you for that response. And Mr. Chair, I'm concerned about that because once you take trucks out onto that road at 80 kilometers an hour, in a speed limit zone of 80 kilometers an hour, I think they are going to slow traffic down, and I think that was the concern of the representative mentioning the fact that then you will have vehicles passing each other and maybe possibly creating some safety issues in the future. And you're saying that you've looked at, or the traffic department has looked at that, and you don't see any concern with that?
We don't see a concern.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Kadri. Councillor Moffat.
What would you say the equivalent is? I mean, I know Stagecoach Road isn't exactly the busiest road in the world. Moody Drive, in comparison, would you say it's about 10 to 1? Moody Drive busier than Stagecoach, where we're talking about here?
The capacity of the road? Or
Just in terms of the pure volume.
the volume is much less than 1/10 of the roads here.
That's right, because Moody Drive is quite heavily trafficked. Obviously, we've got a lot of things on there. The proponent that we're talking about also has a sand and gravel pit on that road. You've got Cott Lumber, you've got the Trail Road landfill. You've got multiple facilities on Moody Drive. Moody Drive is a 2-lane rural arterial, 80 kilometers an hour the entire way. No turning lanes off, no zones to have accelerating traffic, nothing. I represent that area. It is probably the highest concentration of quarries and other sort of heavy industrial or heavy kind of business in one area, and there are none of the concerns on Moody Drive that are being expressed at this sort of remote area of Stagecoach. So I can't imagine why we would all of a sudden have a higher level of requirement on Stagecoach for one sand and gravel pit when we have none of those requirements on Moody Drive. So I see no problem with the application as it stands today. And when you compare it to other areas of the city that are much busier, everything works fine. So I don't see any requirement to change anything when it comes to this application. I think it'll be fine. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Councillor Moffat. I appreciate the comments, and I appreciate Mr. Rada coming in. And I understand, and thank you for those comments, Councillor Moffat, because I guess it puts it into perspective. But that's not to say that there aren't problems. And your comparison, I don't know, I guess it's a flat, no hills on that road. There's a few little. It's not remote like
there's a number of hills. There's a railroad crossing. There's a number of things. Yeah. It's in terms of geography, it is very similar to what we're talking about here.
But better condition. Your road.
I can assure you it's not in better condition.
The one thing that I know, when Mr. Roddick has lived there for 30 years, and I know the road really well, and I know that that section, or Stagecoach Road, is a feeder for south of us. North Dundas residents drive in there in the morning, and there's a pile of them, steady traffic. And I during the day, perhaps the traffic isn't as heavy, but I have some trepidation of 8 o'clock or 7 o'clock, 7:30 in the morning, when the trucks are coming out of there and the traffic is coming. Is it something that we should? I know, for example, there are pits on Bank Street, greedy sanded gravel, and they try to get out onto Bank Street. If they're going south, it's not so bad. If they're going north, it's just terrible. But is it something the city should be looking at? And I have to respect that your comment is that you don't foresee a problem, but I sense that we are going to have some problems, perhaps not at this site, at others. Is there some mechanism, or are your tests and results, you feel very comfortable that there's not going to be traffic chaos at this location?
We don't see a problem, in particular, throughout the day. Perhaps a little bit of delay in the peak hour, but during the day it should be fine. The average annual daily traffic on a Stagecoach, for example, is less than 4,000 vehicles a day, while as other rural arterial roads, it reaches over 10,000 vehicles a day. So given that ratio, we believe that there is enough capacity for the road to accommodate additional traffic.
And again, just so that I'm clear, what type of signage are you going to have? Are you going to have the standard truck entrance, exit?
Yeah, this is will be discussed with our traffic operations group. I already talked to them, and at the time of the implementation, they will be recommended certain signages to be installed, such as truck exit signage. So alert motorists of the access and the operation of the pit.
Would there be, or is it, I've seen some of both where you have a flashing, if you have a sign saying a truck entrance or truck exit, there's a flashing yellow sign on that powered by the sun. Is that something that the city considers, or have you done that?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, we have considered that and indicated as part of the requirements for the access.
So so you're saying that there would be, if this exit is there, there'd be warning signs with a flashing light?
That's right.
Okay. Does the city require, and I know Dominic has said his piece, and I forgot to ask him, but does the city require an exit to be paved a certain distance so that when the trucks are coming out, you don't get a little blast of sand?
Yeah,
that can cause problems.
Yeah, we want to protect our roadways, so we'll get the proponent to pave at least 30 meters from the property line into the site.
At least 30 meters, so it could be longer.
It could be longer, yeah.
Okay.
We have a specified 30 meter. Of course, the more the better, but 30 meters should be sufficient, yeah. Oh, yeah, this is it for the, 15 meters. This is in accordance with the private approach bylaw.
So what you said, a minimum of 30 meters, but it could be, you could request, I just wasn't clear.
It is actually, looking at the comments here, will require 15 meters, measured from the property line to, like, into the site to minimize impact of the adjacent road.
So
the private approach bylaw indicating perhaps less than that, but we feel that 15 meters should be enough.
So 15 meters from
the property line?
The property line, not the edge of the road.
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
Okay. I have one other question. Do you monitor these when there's a new access? Does the city, well, I have two questions. One, you may not be able to answer, but if this item is passed and the quarry opens, do you work, or does the city road staff come out and take a look, because there's going to be increased traffic, and as Mr. Roddick indicated, it's not in the immediate horizon that this would be repaved, unless Tomlinson would agree out of the generosity of their heart, Dominic isn't listening, to repave a section of that. But would things like that move the repaving up? Because just north of Dalmeny Road, the road is in terrible condition. And the increased truck traffic, I have Dominic's attention now. Maybe Tomlinson would like to donate to repaving of Stagecoach Road. Toll Road. But do you work, or does city staff take a look at and change the parameters or timeline for resurfacing that road? You're not the right person to ask.
Based on my communications with the ISD group, it is scheduled to be resurfaced in 2016-2017 horizon.
2016, 2017?
Yeah.
Okay. And when is the pit scheduled to open? Like,
Dominique, maybe.
I don't normally do this, but Dominic, I know you're not at the table. You could just answer from there. What is the...
Depending on what the approval process is, and if any objections or discussions board, we could be looking at sometime in 2014 or 2015.
Okay. Okay. All right. Thanks very much. Okay, I don't have any other questions. So anyone wish to comment on the application? So I I presume that there is no willingness to discuss any alterations to the, and I think the main objection here, or main concern, is the location of the entrance. So seeing none on this item, carried. Okay, moving on to item, any in-camera items. None have been brought forward. Information previously distributed, 2013 funding decisions for the Rural Association Partnership Program, Rural Community Building Grant Program. Is that received? Open mic session, we had someone who had called, but I don't see her here. Shirley Dolan, is she in the house? So you know the rules. You have 5 minutes, and welcome to Agriculture and Rural Affairs Committee. And we have a copy of your presentation. So
okay, good.
I'll warn you when you have 1 minute left.
That would be great. This is on, I assume. It sounds like it's on.
You're wired.
I'm wired. Okay, good. Good morning, Mr. Chair, Mr. Vice Chair. Who's here, and councillors. I want to thank you for the opportunity to speak to this topic today. My name is Shirley Dolan, and I'm a resident and property owner in West Carleton, and I'm making this presentation today about a subject that's very important to me, my family, my neighbours, and my friends in rural Ottawa. In other words, your constituents. I'm referring to the MOE's D55 guideline, which the City of Ottawa, on the recommendation of staff, adopted as a condition for single lot severances in rural Ottawa. The MOE D55 guideline from 1996 was designed to, as you know, provide technical guidance in the assessment of groundwater quality and quantity in the development of individual private well water supplies. However, the guideline is being used by planning staff to deny what we feel are rightful severances. Planning staff are not accepting the fact that modern technologies can be used to ensure that the recommended levels required by D55 are met. So, in other words, when an application comes, that's not being considered, in my opinion. So my request today is simple. I'm asking that the Agriculture and Rural Affairs Committee ask staff to revisit this request for removal of the requirement. In other words, can they go back and look at it and see whether or not it's really necessary on single lot severances, and then to report back to this committee. And I'm hoping that on receiving this report, that this committee can then vote on that request. And my reasons for this are as follows. I believe that the responsibility for water quality should rest with the property owner. D55 is not a requirement for single lot severances in any of our neighboring counties. And I'm fairly confident that as councillors representing rural wards in Ottawa, you want to ensure that your rural residents have the same opportunities as those in other rural counties. And we all know that there are a number of requests for severances in the City of Ottawa that have been and will continue to be rejected because of the failure to meet D55 guideline. And this is despite the evidence that the parameters can easily and safely be met with today's technology. And this is technology that's ready available, including here in the City of Ottawa. So it's my belief that this is an unfair application of the provincial guideline for, in many cases, what is aesthetic reasons. So that is that the water is potable, it is drinkable, but may not meet test or appearance parameters. So when a professional opinion is provided and that opinion suggests that the water is safe, then it's my position that severances should be allowed to proceed. So, gentlemen, many property owners and business people have spoken to me of their concerns regarding the negative impact of this guideline, and I believe that removing this requirement is the right thing to do for the rural residents of the City of Ottawa. So I'm submitting to you today that this presentation and a report, which you have said that you already have, which outlines my appeal to you to have staff review this request to remove the D55 guideline as a condition of single lot severances and to report back to this committee. Now, I'm not sure how long this would take, but I'm trusting that staff can prepare and deliver that report within the next 3 months. And I'm hopeful that the vote on this request could take place in May. I believe there's a meeting on May 1st of this committee. Pardon me? Yes, I understand. So
maybe we'll deal with this in West Carleton.
Yeah, well, it took me about an hour and a half to get in here today, so if it did happen in West Carleton, that would be wonderful.
Just want to help out, Councillor Deputy Mayor.
That's my request for today, gentlemen.
Okay, thanks very much. And I appreciate, as members of the committee do, your presentation. You're aware that we don't make, when you have a presentation open mic, we don't make decisions we can't, but certainly we can ask, and we would refer with the concurrence of committee for staff to review it and then come back and make a decision. I know this issue quite well. I know there are a couple of severances in Osgood Ward where they were turned down. I supported severance, but they were turned down, and the owner went to the Ontario Municipal Board, and it was overturned, and it was in regard to the D55. But Councillor Deputy Mayor Al Shantiri.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you to Ms. Dolan for making the trip this morning. I believe, Mr. Chair, our staff, we asked in the past, and they are working with some of their colleagues from around the province and around this area of Ottawa. And just a small correction, we canvass the most municipality around Ottawa, and they're all using the D55 as a guideline. And I know it reads guideline in the regulation, but then every item it says shall not exceed this number, shall not. And I'm one of those people who believe there's something could be done with today's technology, and I hope our staff will work with their colleague in the province, trying to convince the ministry and to come up with a new guideline, because this guideline has been there since 1996 with all the technology we have seen. I think we can do a better job in addressing this concern. But let me tell you, Mr. Chair, some of the things happen in the past, it come back to haunt you forever. Our school board in West Carleton High School is spending tremendous amount of money every year on a bottled water just because they authorized a school in the area where they didn't have the potable water or the safety of the water. So with that, I would leave it in the hands of staff, and I hope we can direct our staff to continue working with their colleague right across the province, and please revisit this guideline, because it's time to revisit. It's over 20 years now. Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Ms. Dolan.
As always, Councillor Deputy Mayor Al Shantiri, thank you for your wise counsel, and I think it's a consensus of the committee that we ask staff to review this and report back to us as soon as possible so that we can deal with this at committee. So I see a nodding of heads, so appreciate that. Are there notices of motion for consideration at subsequent meetings? Seeing none. Inquiries. I have an inquiry, but I don't have it written out, so maybe I could just get the ears of the staff, and I would send it to Mr. Desjardins. I raised this issue before, but when there is an application for a rezoning, there are large 4x8 signs that go up. Is that correct? on the property,
When there's an application for zoning,
rezoning.
rezoning, yeah, there is a sign that does go up.
4
yes.
by 8,
The large ones?
yes.
The smaller ones are for committee of adjustment.
Yeah, but the larger ones, they may not be 4, but they look like 4 by 8.
Yeah.
But I was under the impression that when they're put up so that the public knows that this property is there's something happening to this
Yes.
property. And I understand the city has contract to have those put up on those properties. But I'm not sure if the contract extends to having them taken down.
Sorry, the contract does extend to have them taken down as soon as there's a decision on the application.
But there are some that I have seen that have been up for about 5 years. And
Okay, if you could send me a list of them, I can look into it. Sometimes there are applications that are still ongoing, even 5 years down the road, and so we haven't taken those signs down.
okay, so I will make a written inquiry and CCU on it because and there may be, and I understand that, but there are some that I cannot believe. It looks like they've seen their best times, their best before date. Okay, thank you very much, and I'll forward that to you. Is there any other business? So with that, we will adjourn, and thank you very much, and thank you to you, Mr. Desjardins, for helping us out. As always.
Use those posts for your election signs.
Yes. I should have turned the mic off.